California is on fire. A state known for its natural beauty, innovation, and the promise of fulfilled dreams has become the epicenter of almost unimaginable devastation. The flames consume everything in their path: ancient forests, homes built through years of hard work, cherished memories, and for many, a sense of safety. The sky, painted in shades of orange and gray, seems to cry for help as dense smoke blocks out the sun. Families flee in desperation, leaving behind everything they own. But are these flames just another natural disaster, or is there something deeper happening? Every fire tells a story. Yet the fires raging across California, with their unprecedented intensity, seem to tell a different one. A story that echoes biblical warnings and ancient prophecies about times when the world would be shaken and the signs in nature would be impossible to ignore. Could these events reflect what the Bible foretold? Are we witnessing the fulfillment of prophecies that point to the end times? Throughout history, humanity has often ignored the messages written into creation. The Bible, frequently dismissed as outdated, holds eternal truths that remain just as relevant today as they were centuries ago. And within its pages, we find a warning. When humanity places its trust in fleeting things, gold, glory, luxury, the foundation upon which life is built becomes fragile. We are reminded, both poetically and sharply, that the riches of this world are like straw before the fire, ready to be consumed in an instant. And now, in the blazing hills of California, that metaphor seems to come to life. Imagine for a moment the contrast between the Garden of Eden and what we see today. Eden was a paradise where God and humanity lived in perfect harmony, surrounded by crystal-clear rivers and lush vegetation. But since the fall, creation has groaned, as Paul describes in Romans 8, verse 22. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. Destroyed forests, ashes falling like snow, rivers polluted by the heat of the flames, all of this seems to cry out that something is terribly wrong. These flames are not just destructive, they are revealing. They force us to ask difficult questions. What are our priorities? What are we chasing? In whom or what are we placing our trust? While many run after wealth and status, we forget that these are fleeting things, incapable of saving us when destruction comes. And this is precisely what the Bible repeatedly warns us about. In Proverbs 11:28 we read, "Those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf." There is a lesson here, a truth that many do not want to hear. Perhaps, just perhaps, these flames are more than an extreme climate event. Maybe they are a reflection of humanity's spiritual state. When we choose to ignore our connection with God and focus solely on selfish ambitions, the consequences are inevitable. The planet itself groans, crying out for redemption. Could these flames be a call to reflection? An invitation to reconsider our path. Here at the Eternal Compass, we believe these events are not mere coincidences. They have a purpose, a deeper meaning that challenges us to look beyond what we can see. This video isn't just about what's happening in California. It's an invitation for you to reflect on what's happening within each of us. Are we truly living according to God's purpose, or are we caught in an endless cycle of chasing things that won't last? I invite you to stay until the end, because what we'll explore here could change how you see the world and your own life. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. By doing so, you join a community that seeks to understand the eternal truths of the Bible and apply them to a world that seems increasingly chaotic. Every subscriber and every interaction helps spread this message and reach more people who, like you, feel the urgency of finding answers to today's challenges. Now, let's dive even deeper. The flames may devastate, but they also illuminate. What truths are they revealing? What messages are hidden in the ashes? Stay with us, because what comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about what's happening around us and perhaps within you. The images of California engulfed in flames are disturbing, but they don't tell the whole story. Behind the unbearable heat and suffocating smoke, something greater is happening. It's a cry, not just from people who have lost everything, but from creation itself. The Bible tells us in Romans 8:22, we know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Every wildfire, Every earthquake, every hurricane serves as a reminder that since humanity's fall, the earth has borne the weight of sin and neglect. Can you hear that cry? Think about what this means. Creation was originally designed as a reflection of divine perfection, a place of harmony where everything aligned with God's purpose. But disobedience in Eden changed everything. What was once a garden of peace became a world of conflict, degradation, and chaos. The earth didn't just witness humanity's fall, it was deeply affected by it. Every flame consuming a forest is a distant echo of that moment in Eden, a direct consequence of our disconnection from the Creator. Now, consider the contrast. What was once a vibrant paradise is now a scene of destruction. Imagine a lush garden with crystal-clear rivers and towering trees, and compare it to the ash-covered landscapes of California, with charred trees standing like ghosts. It's a powerful image of how far humanity has strayed from its God-given responsibility. In the beginning, we were called to be caretakers of creation. Genesis 2:15 says, "The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it." But today, our actions often reflect different priorities: the pursuit of wealth, comfort, and power. Unchecked deforestation, reckless industrialization, rampant pollution, these have left deep scars on our planet. And now it seems the Earth is responding. The flames can be seen as a direct reflection of our collective choices. Yet, even amid destruction, there is hope. The Bible reminds us that God is patient, and his warnings are always accompanied by grace. He does not desire destruction, but transformation. In 2 Chronicles 7:14 we read, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land." This promise reminds us that there is still time to change, to redirect our lives, and to care for creation with the love and wisdom entrusted to us. But where do we start? The answer lies in re-examining our priorities. Are we living for things that last, or are we building our lives on what can be destroyed in an instant? Jesus warned us in Matthew 6:19-21, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." These events challenge us to reflect deeply. What treasure have we been chasing? Many spend their lives accumulating material wealth, building mansions, and investing in luxuries. But in moments like this, when everything can disappear in minutes, we realize these things hold no eternal value. What truly matters are the things that fire cannot consume: our faith, our purpose in God, and our relationship with Him. What if the flames are not just destruction but an opportunity, a chance to wake up, to see the world with new eyes? Perhaps they are an invitation to rediscover what truly matters, to set aside distractions and return to the purpose for which we were created. God didn't call us to be consumers of the world, but caretakers of it. That responsibility is both a calling and an honor. Are we ready to listen? Devastation can be transformative if we allow it to be a moment of spiritual awakening. God doesn't just warn us about the dangers of living outside His purpose, He also provides a way out. He calls us to let go of the fleeting and embrace the eternal. As the flames continue to ravage California, it's impossible not to think about the symbolism of fire in Scripture. Throughout the Bible, fire repeatedly appears as a divine instrument, a means through which God manifests His justice, purification, and presence. It's not just destructive, it's transformative. It burns away what is impure, revealing and refining what is valuable. Fire, both literal and symbolic, serves as a reminder of the divine balance between warning and mercy. Consider, for example, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities, full of corruption and rejection of God's ways, were consumed by fire and brimstone from heaven. In Genesis 19, verse 24-25, we see the clear and undeniable manifestation of divine justice. Yet even in this act of judgment, there was compassion. God provided a way out for Lot and his family, demonstrating that His justice is never separated from His mercy. California, with its burning forests and devastated communities, can be seen as a mirror of this duality. As the flames consume what has been built, they also reveal what truly matters. Grand mansions, luxury cars, expensive jewelry, all of it turns to ash under the relentless heat. These events challenge the way we view our achievements, our priorities, and where we place our trust. Are we building our lives on a solid foundation, or are we placing our faith in things that can be destroyed in an instant? Fire is also often associated with the process of refinement. In Malachi 3:3, God is described as a refiner and purifier of silver. This process, though painful, is essential. It removes impurities, allowing the precious material to be revealed. Similarly, God uses the trials in our lives to shape us, to purify us, and to draw us closer to His purpose. Have you ever considered that the challenges you face might be God's refining fire, calling you to align more deeply with His will? These reflections lead us to another powerful example, the exodus of the Israelites. During their journey through the wilderness, they were guided by a pillar of fire at night, a clear symbol of God's presence and direction. This fire didn't just light their path, it was a constant reminder that God was with them, even in the most challenging circumstances. Today, the fire we see around us can be understood in a similar way, as a call to turn our eyes back to God, to seek His guidance, and to trust in His providence. But are we listening? We live in a world dominated by materialism, where success is often measured by what we own. And yet, in moments of crisis, such as these devastating wildfires, all of that proves meaningless. Fire doesn't discriminate. It consumes both the rich and the poor alike. It levels the false foundations we've built our lives upon, forcing us to confront what truly matters. This is the point where we are challenged to reflect. How are we living our lives? Are we chasing wealth, status, and comfort? Or are we seeking what holds eternal value? In Proverbs 11:4, we are warned, "Wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death." This is a clear reminder that nothing in this world can protect us from the consequences of living outside God's purposes. Only a life aligned with His will holds lasting value. And yet, even in the midst of judgment, God offers hope. He invites us to reevaluate, to change, and to trust in Him. The destruction caused by fire is not the end of the story. In fact, it's an opportunity for a new beginning. After the ashes comes renewal. Nature, so resilient, eventually begins to rebuild. New trees sprout, plants emerge, and the devastated landscape comes back to life. It's a powerful lesson. Even in the darkest moments, there is the promise of rebirth. This truth is deeply rooted in the message of the cross. Jesus, the Son of God, faced the greatest of trials, bearing the weight of sin and death, yet He rose in glory. He showed us that through sacrifice comes redemption. Like the cross, fire is both a symbol of judgment and renewal. It reminds us that God never allows us to go through something without purpose. Even in difficulties, He is working for our good, refining us and preparing us for something greater. So, as we look at the fires in California and feel the weight of the devastation, we are also called to look beyond what is visible. God is present, even in the midst of chaos, and His promises remain true. He reminds us that fire is not merely an end, but a means of transformation. The flames consuming California don't just reduce the landscape to ashes, they also expose an undeniable truth, the fragility of the things we so often place our trust in. Luxurious homes, gleaming cars, priceless possessions, all of it disappears within hours, leaving behind only rubble. It's a painful but necessary reminder that the things of this world are temporary. Jesus warned us about this in Matthew 6:19-21, saying, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." What are these treasures in heaven? It's a question we should all ask ourselves. Too often we confuse success with the accumulation of material wealth. But in the end, what truly matters are the things fire cannot consume: our faith, our character, the relationships we nurture, and the impact we leave on others. These are the treasures that stand the test of time, and as the Bible teaches us, the test of fire. The Apostle Paul addresses this idea powerfully in 1 Corinthians 3:13. Their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. This passage challenges us to examine the quality of our lives and choices. Are we building something that can withstand the trials, or will everything we do be consumed when tested? Imagine your entire life being placed before a purifying fire. What would remain? This question isn't meant to instill fear, but to lead us to reflection and, most importantly, transformation. God gives us the opportunity to reevaluate our priorities while there is still time. He invites us to leave behind the distractions of the world and focus on what is eternal. What makes this so difficult is that we are constantly surrounded by messages telling us we need more money, more possessions, more recognition. But the truth is that these things never satisfy. In Ecclesiastes 5:10, we read, "Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless." This is the emptiness so many of us feel even when we achieve what the world defines as success. On the other hand, God offers something that truly fulfills. He calls us to a life of purpose and meaning, a life that reflects His values and His love. When we place our trust in Him, we discover that true wealth isn't found in what we own, but in our relationship with our Creator. He is the source of peace, joy, and contentment, even in the midst of chaos. This is exactly what we see in the stories of faith throughout the Bible. Think of Job, a man who lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health. Yet, even in the face of such devastating loss, he declared, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Job 1:21. Job understood something that many of us struggle to accept. Everything we have is a gift from God, and He is enough, even when everything else is taken away. In the same way, the fires in California are an opportunity for each of us to reflect on what we truly value in our lives. It's not just about material possessions, but about where we invest our time, energy, and attention. Are we building something that glorifies God, or are we pouring ourselves into things that ultimately have no lasting value? Even amidst so much destruction, there is hope. God specializes in turning chaos into creation, rubble into beauty. Isaiah 61:3 speaks of how He bestows on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. This promise is not just a metaphor, it's a reality that God invites us to experience. He can take the broken pieces of our lives and transform them into something beautiful if we are willing to trust Him. Of course, this transformation requires something from us. It demands that we let go of control and surrender fully to Him. This means releasing our grip on material things and selfish ambitions, and instead seeking first the kingdom of God. As Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." So, as we watch the flames consume what once seemed unshakable, we are called to look inward. What are we building in our lives? Are we investing in the eternal, or are we clinging to what is temporary? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones. And the good news is that it's never too late to start building on the right foundation. God is always ready to receive us, to guide us, and to give us a purpose that truly matters. Imagine the crackling of the flames, the almost unbearable heat dancing in the air, as each spark seems to tell a forgotten story. These fires consuming California's hills feel like more than just fire. They carry an echo that reverberates not only through the charred mountains, but also through the depths of our souls. That echo asks us uncomfortable questions. What are we ignoring? What are these flames trying to tell us? Since the beginning of time, fire has been a powerful tool, both of destruction and renewal. It destroys the old, what is no longer useful, to make way for the new. In the Bible, fire is often used as a metaphor for judgment and purification. Think of the burning bush where God spoke directly to Moses, or Isaiah's vision where a burning coal touched his lips to purify him. Fire is more than a natural force. It is a divine language, and now that language is shouting through California's hills. As we look at neighborhoods that were once full of life, now reduced to ashes, we are forced to confront a difficult truth. What really matters in life? The glow of the flames can illuminate our spiritual blindness. We are so focused on accumulating wealth and seeking comfort that we forget these things are fleeting. In an instant, what took years to build can disappear. But perhaps this loss isn't the end. It's the beginning of something greater. The fires challenge us to look beyond the physical, beyond what we can touch and measure. They force us to confront the fragility of our human constructions. What are we building? Are our lives founded on something solid or on what is easily consumed by flames? In 1 Corinthians 3:13, Paul writes that their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. This is not just a warning, but an invitation to build something that lasts, something that stands the test of time and judgment. What if these flames are a reminder that we were made for something more, something eternal? When everything around us is destroyed, we are reminded that the things of this world were never meant to be our ultimate home. The relentless pursuit of wealth, luxury, and status will never be enough, because our hearts were created for something much greater, a deep, eternal connection with our Creator. This truth may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. When we stop placing our value in temporary things, we begin to see life in a new way. Every moment becomes an opportunity to invest in what is eternal, loving others, serving God, and living with a greater purpose. In the midst of destruction, we are invited to rethink our choices and align our lives with what truly matters. There is something fascinating that happens after a wildfire. Even in the most devastated areas, nature finds a way to come back to life. New shoots emerge, vegetation regenerates, and the once scorched landscape begins to transform. This doesn't happen by chance. Creation reflects the redemption story that God is writing in our lives. Just as forests are reborn, we too can find renewal, no matter how broken we may feel. This renewal is not a process we are meant to face alone. God calls us to trust Him, to allow Him to be the architect of our rebuilding. In Isaiah 41:10, He assures us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This is the God who turns ashes into beauty, who brings new life to what seemed lost. So, as the flames continue to burn, don't see them as mere destruction. See them as a call, an invitation to a deeper, truer life. Something greater is being whispered through the sparks and smoke. God is calling us to look beyond, to listen to what He is saying, and to let His hands refine and restore all that has been lost. Imagine yourself under a darkened sky with the deafening sound of wind fueling the flames around you. The feeling of helplessness is overwhelming. People rush to save what they can, but deep down they know there are things no human effort can protect. In this setting of absolute chaos, a fundamental question arises. Where is our refuge when everything around us crumbles? Throughout human history, moments of crisis like this have revealed what truly matters. When the things we consider secure, our homes, material possessions, status, are stripped away, we are forced to confront something greater. The question shifts from, what do I own, to in whom do I trust? The Bible gives a clear answer to this. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. This verse is not just poetic comfort, it's a declaration of reality. When everything around us feels unstable, God remains steadfast. He doesn't change, He doesn't falter, and His strength is infinite. Amid the chaos of the flames consuming California's hills, this truth becomes even more powerful. God doesn't merely watch from a distance. He walks with us through the ashes, offering us safety, purpose, and peace. But how do we trust in this promise amid devastation? How do we find peace when everything seems lost? The answer lies in shifting our focus. Too often, we place our security in things that can be taken away: material possessions, money, even relationships. But Jesus invites us to look beyond the immediate. In John 16:33, He says, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This victory of Jesus is the key to finding peace in times of chaos. He doesn't promise a life free from problems, but guarantees that we can trust Him to sustain us. His words remind us that even when we face life's most violent storms, there is a hope the world cannot take away. This hope is evident in stories of faith that have endured through the centuries. Think of Daniel, thrown into the lion's den, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who faced the fiery furnace. In each case, God's presence was tangible. He didn't just deliver them, He revealed His glory through their trials. The same is true today. God doesn't just promise us a refuge, He promises to walk with us, even through the fire. Perhaps the moment we are living through is an invitation to pause and reflect. Where are we seeking our security? Are we trusting in temporary things or in the eternal God? The truth is, the world will always offer substitutes for true peace. It will tell us that money, possessions, and status can protect us, but the reality of the flames reveals something different. These things cannot save us. Only God can. What makes this promise even more incredible is that it doesn't demand perfection from us. God meets us where we are, with all our flaws and insecurities. In Isaiah 41:13, he says, "For I am the Lord your God who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, 'Do not fear, I will help you.'" These words are a reminder that even in our darkest moments, he never abandons us. And there is something deeper happening here. Fire, as we've discussed, is not just destructive, it refines. Perhaps these crises are God's way of showing us where we need to grow, where we need to let go of false securities and turn back to him. Every difficulty we face is an opportunity to draw closer to the Creator, to trust more deeply, and to be transformed by his grace. As the flames continue to burn, remember that they do not have the final word. Fire may consume what is physical, but it cannot touch what is eternal. And in the midst of the chaos, God is calling us to a place of refuge, a place where we can find peace, no matter what is happening around us. It is a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on his presence. As the fire consumes what was once home to so many, it also exposes something invisible but deeply true: the priorities and foundations upon which we build our lives. Among the ashes, a question arises that cannot be ignored. What truly matters? These flames, though devastating, act as a spiritual mirror, reflecting our choices and challenging our perspectives. Think for a moment about the contrast between what fire destroys and what it reveals. It can consume houses, cars, valuable possessions, and even physical memories, but it cannot touch what is eternal: faith, purpose, and the impact we leave on the lives of others. In 1 Corinthians 3:13, Paul reminds us that the fire will test the quality of each person's work. This test is not merely judgment, but an opportunity for transformation. What have we been building? Are our lives founded on the eternal or the fleeting? There is a profound truth in the concept of rebuilding. After a fire, the land, initially barren and marked by devastation, eventually gives way to new growth. This is visible in nature, but also reflects God's plan for humanity. He specializes in turning ashes into beauty. In Isaiah 61:3, we read that he bestows a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. This promise is not just a metaphor. It is the reality of who God is, a creator who always seeks to renew and restore. To many, the fires may seem like a purposeless disaster. But when we look through the lens of divine perspective, we realize that even the greatest suffering can carry seeds of redemption. God uses adversity as a way to call us back to him, to remind us that this world is not our final destination. Just as fire refines silver, our trials have the power to shape us, purify us, and align us with God's plan. However, this transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires surrender, allowing God to work in our lives. It means confronting the areas where we've sought security in temporary things. What gives us purpose? Where are we directing our time and energy? Often we are so busy chasing success and comfort that we forget to invest in what truly matters: our relationship with God and with others. The Bible is filled with stories that demonstrate the power of surrender and trust in God. Think of Abraham, called to leave everything he knew to follow a divine promise, or Noah, who dedicated his life to building an ark, even when everything around him seemed to contradict that decision. These examples show us that when we trust God and seek his direction, he can transform any circumstance into a greater purpose. Perhaps the fires in California are not just an environmental tragedy, but a spiritual reminder, a call to disconnect from the distractions of the world and connect more deeply with our Creator. In moments of loss, we are confronted with a powerful truth. Everything we have can disappear, but who we are in God will never be shaken. He is the rock upon which we can build our lives, and that foundation will never be consumed by fire. What if, instead of looking at these tragedies with despair, we began to see them as invitations to reevaluate, to start over, to rebuild our lives on what truly matters? God never abandons us in the ashes. He is always present, ready to guide us, sustain us, and show us a path of hope. It's a process, of course, and not always an easy one. Leaving behind what is familiar, even when we know it is temporary, can be frightening. But it is precisely in that place of vulnerability that we find God's strength. He takes us by the hand, calls us by name, and reminds us that we are not alone. He is the God who walks with us through the fire, who turns destruction into redemption, and who uses even the most difficult circumstances to shape us into his image. The flames may devastate, but they also illuminate. They reveal the cracks we've ignored, the weaknesses in our foundations. But more importantly, they remind us that there's always an opportunity to rebuild, not on the illusions of the world, but on the certainty of what is eternal. This is God's promise, and it never fails. When the fire dies down and the ashes begin to settle, something extraordinary happens. The land, once barren and devastated, starts showing signs of life. Small shoots emerge from the rubble. Nature reorganizes itself, demonstrating its incredible capacity to renew. It's a powerful reminder: destruction is never the final word. Just as the earth regenerates after a fire, God offers us the chance to rebuild, to transform what was lost into something even more meaningful. The California wildfires challenge us to look beyond the immediate. They reveal not only the fragility of material things, but also the strength of what is eternal. They invite us to reflect on our priorities and reconsider how we are building our lives. After all, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. And the inevitable question remains, are we investing in what truly matters? In the midst of chaos, God is calling us. He reminds us that even the darkest situations can become opportunities for transformation. The ashes may seem like the end, but with him, they are just the beginning. He is the God who turns tears into joy, despair into hope, and destruction into redemption. Isaiah 43:19 gives us this promise. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. And now the invitation extends to you. Don't let the lessons of these flames be forgotten. This is the moment to reevaluate where your heart, your faith, and your purpose truly lie. Perhaps God is using this very moment to get your attention, to invite you to disconnect from the temporary and reconnect with the eternal. It's not too late to rebuild your life on a solid foundation, one that cannot be shaken by fire, loss, or chaos. Just as nature finds ways to renew itself, so can we. Transformation begins when we take the first step, surrendering to God, trusting his guidance, and allowing him to work in our lives. It's a journey, and every choice we make either draws us closer to or further away from his purpose. Now is the time to choose. And as you reflect on these words, I want to invite you to be part of something bigger. Here at the Eternal Compass, we are committed to exploring these profound truths, sharing them with the world, and building a community of people who seek purpose and hope. By subscribing to this channel, you're not just supporting this work, you're declaring that these messages have value and deserve to reach others. Leave a comment below with your reflections. Share what touched your heart or even the questions you carry. When you engage, you're not only contributing to the growth of this community, but also helping to spread this message to others who may be searching for exactly what you found here. Your like, your subscription, and your share are like seeds we plant together, seeds that can grow into transformation for others. And finally, there's another video waiting for you. It delves even deeper into this spiritual journey, connecting the signs of our times to God's eternal promises. Click, watch, and let this message continue to shape your vision and your purpose. The flames may burn, but they cannot extinguish God's plan for your life. They cannot quench his love for you. Take this moment as a call. Rebuild, renew, transform. Because even in the ashes, life begins again. And with God, it begins again with an eternal purpose.